We're ready.
Are you ready? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, November 20th, West Fargo City Commission meeting. First item, Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next, approve the order of agenda. I have no changes other than number 6, because of some time limits and some of the people involved, we're moving number 6 up to number 1. That's the only changes I have.
Motion to approve.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, approve the minutes of the November 6th meeting.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Building permits. Any questions on the building permits? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. On to the regular agenda. The first item is a presentation and recognition of a grant check from Midco to the West Fargo Fire Department. Dan and Justin?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you here this evening to present this grant check. Midco is very proud to be located in West Fargo at 5020 2nd Street East, and we continue to serve all of our operations for the entirety of Midco from that location. So we continue to grow there as well in West Fargo and are continuing to add employees as fast as we can there. So appreciate the opportunity here, but obviously a big part of Midco is what we do is because of our customers, and because of that we make giving back to the communities we serve a priority. Our Midco Foundation has given back nearly $5 million over the last few years to the communities in which we serve. So today I have another check from Midco Foundation that we're going to present to the West Fargo Fire Department, and I'll let Mr. Fuller say a few words about the grant.
So the grant that we applied for thermal imaging cameras, technology's come a long way. When we first bought our thermal imaging cameras back in the 90s, they were $25,000 a piece. They mounted on your helmet and they weighed about 5 pounds. Now with the technology the way it is, we recently upgraded our air packs last year. That was included in our budget. One of the things we didn't do was add on these new thermal imagers that fit into the air pack itself. So rather than one person on scene having it, now we're to the point with this donation, we're actually up to 6 of these thermal imagers being able to be built into the air packs. The first truck on scene, everyone has one, and they can use it as need be. So it's really increased the safety for the community. Technology, we're keeping up with it, so it's a great thing, and it helps us get another 2 on the truck and on the street. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We really do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, onward with item number 1, public hearing concerning the granting of a new retail on-premise wine and liquor license for Barcode Bar and Grill at 825 23rd Avenue East. Ina.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Barcode Bar and Grill is to be located at 825 23rd Avenue East, Suite 208. If you're not sure where that is, that's the road down by Costco, in that area by Taco Bell and all that. There was a background check done, and the license has been reviewed, and they meet all the requirements to be able to have a license in that facility. So we would request approval of the license.
Any questions to Tina?
And I do believe the owners are here if you'd like to speak with them.
Any questions of Tina? If not, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second that.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Let me backtrack a little bit here. We want to welcome up here tonight for her first meeting, Courtney Williams. She's a little nervous, but you'll get over that. And also in the audience, we have our new right-hand person for Matt, Callie Roth. Stand up and say hi. Economic specialist. Welcome to both of you. Next, West Fargo Police Department structural changes needed and the 2018 budget enhancement request. Chief.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, it is my honor and privilege to be before you for the first time since taking this job. I'm not only here just as Chief of Police tonight, but I'm here with a whole lot of the police department that is here standing behind us as one team moving forward. When I took this job, I knew there were going to be challenges. I knew there were going to be hard decisions that had to be made. And I said I was going to take 90 days to sit back and fully analyze this police department before coming before you or asking you for what changes I need to make and the budget that goes with that. And I spent the last 100 days doing that. And here's a few things that I found that is important not only for you, but for the public to see as we move forward. First of all, the people of the police department. They are outstanding people that it is a privilege to work with every day. You talk about protecting and serving the community. Serving is just as big for this, and I want to just show a few things. Maybe?
Kind of reminding me of Larry.
Here's some pictures of what I found as I looked at our personnel in the police department. When we talk about serving this community, here's a detective with 36 years on at this police department, sitting in the grass at night to unite, showing kids how to do fingerprints and things like that, fully engaged with the children of our community here in West Fargo. Another picture of our school resource officers do phenomenal work every day for all of our children in our schools and in partnership with the West Fargo School District. This is them, a picture at night to unite. Our civilian staff is just as important as what our sworn police officers do every day, and this is our community service officer. And what is interesting about this picture and how serious she takes her job that the public never sees every day, this lady's van was a 9-month pregnant lady who called because she had locked her keys in the car. And they were unable to get the keys out through going through the normal window process. Instead of leaving this 9-month pregnant lady out, Annie climbed on top and got through the sunroof in order to get the keys out for this person. She does stuff like this every day, and so does our civilian staff every day. Amazing people that the public never hears about, but you talk about taking it a step above to serve, that is another picture. We also protect this community. So we talk about serving and protecting, and our officers are out there every day. This is a picture of the largest drug seizure in the history of West Fargo PD. This also has DISCO, one of our canine units in it, that they do phenomenal work every day out there protecting our community here in West Fargo. So when I look from an overall standpoint of the people, it doesn't get any better than what we have here at the West Fargo Police Department. Both sworn, civilian, amazing people that are dedicated every day to serve this community. Now let's talk about what else I found outside of our people. So I took my first 100 days and I was responsible. I stayed on an island by myself to look at everything, to base what is working, what isn't working, and what needs to be fixed. I looked at our overall structure, how our operations are, how our equipment is, and how our leadership is in the police department. And I did that a number of ways. First of all, I met with every department employee. I did a leadership survey. I looked at the budgets, our equipment, reviewed statistics for the past 5 years, looked at other police departments and their structures, and more importantly, I just kept my eyes and ears open and watched and listened so that I can make determinations of how our police department moves forward. Now, when we look at where we are from a West Fargo Police Department, we need to look at West Fargo itself, who has gone through great growth in the last 20 years. And that is one of the bases that I look at of where we are now and where we need to go. If you look at the populations just in the last 6 years, West Fargo added another 10,000 people. Great growth up to 35,477. So you look at that population growth and you look at what our calls of service are as this next slide. In 2016, we hit an all-time high. This year we are on pace for 28,000 calls for service coming in from the public. We're going to eclipse last year's record by far, and we're going to set a new all-time record in 2017 for calls of service that the people are calling in, needing us to respond. We also look at our average response times. So all those calls come up as the population's going, and we see the same correlation. It's taking us longer to get to the calls for our community when we need to be there. If you look at 2013 and 14, average response time is 6 minutes. The last 2 years we're at 7.5. And we do not want that to keep creeping up. That is a bad trend because just imagine 90 seconds can be life or death in certain situations. We need to have enough officers on the street so that that is not continuing to go up. Otherwise, we are not properly serving the citizens of this community if we can't get there in time to prevent those life or death situations. So we look at both our calls for service, our average response times, and now let's talk a little bit about the patrol division. So patrol, we have 23 officers that have been with our police department less than 5 years. That represents 85% of patrol. With patrol also, our minimum staffing levels are 4 officers. And during this year, 52% of our time, we've been at minimum staffing. So we have 4 officers covering the 15 square miles and the 36,000 residents and visitors in our city. On top of that, and what this chart shows you is when we had sergeants on board. Right now we have 5 patrol sergeants trying to supervise those 27 patrol officers. This chart shows you 40% of the time we don't have a sergeant on duty because there's the lack of resources there. So what that tells me, as a new leader and as a chief of police, 40% of the time we don't have a supervisor out there who is supervising 85% of our patrol who's been here less than 5 years, and 52% of that time when we're minimum staffed. As a former litigation attorney, that gives me great heartburn that if a mistake happens, the civil liability that could be opened up to the city because we don't have a sergeant on duty. This is something that couldn't wait for my first 90 days, that we've already started addressing and figuring out resources so that we can have that supervision out there with our patrol. But those are what we found once I started looking at the patrol with that chart. The next thing is I started looking at our statistics. You know, when I came in, I said my top 2 priorities are narcotics and crimes against the children that are being committed in our community. As I started looking at the narcotics, the next chart shows you our arrests for the last 5 years. And you can see in 2016 it nearly tripled, and we are on pace this year that we will set another record high when it comes to our narcotics arrests. The next is, for the last 5 years, the charges that have come out in narcotics. And you can see Schedule 1, 2, or 3 involves meth, cocaine, ecstasy, heroin. That is the chart that gives me the most worry when I look at our community, is we keep setting record highs every year as our officers are out there making more arrests. What we can do with a strategic plan moving forward from the police department to knock out the narcotics that are in our community, because we don't want to see that continue to climb as it goes throughout. So that shows our charges. Now what comes with all that from the PD as more and more drugs are out there?
Mike, can I interrupt you for
Yes.
a second? Maybe you want to explain what Schedule 1, 2, and 3 are.
So those would be
For
the
the public.
drugs. It doesn't in our charts list out specific whether it's cocaine, heroin, meth. So that lumps all of them into one. To figure out if it's more meth, heroin, cocaine, there would have to be a deeper dive that goes through every single case because our system doesn't classify it right. So they're all lumped into one. But those are the bad drugs that we definitely need out of our cities. So that's what we look at it. When you look at our investigations from our detectives, the narcotics, obviously the arrests and charges are going up. So are the number of investigations that our detectives are opening. And this shows our case assignments out of our 8 detectives that we have. We continue to hit record highs every year. This year, we're already at 708 and a new record high that our detectives and our investigations units are working every year. So that continues to increase, and our workload continues to increase with the resources that we have. What else comes with that is the number of evidence items in our evidence room that we have to take care of. As we keep making more arrests and charging more individuals, we have all that evidence that we have to maintain control and custody of. This year, we've already taken in 661 items, and that doesn't equal the entire number of items. There may be a car that has 40 pieces of evidence in it that gets logged into our system just one time. So we're really talking thousands of items. So that is the impact it's having with our detectives. We talked about patrol, we talked about investigations in the evidence room that comes with that. The other thing that I looked at too is our programs that we are running within the PD, whether it is fleet management, building management, our equipment and tasers and our weapons and all those things. And I looked at how they are spread out, and I found we were failing in several items to adequately not increase civil liability upon the police department. There were a number of issues that we had to work out and rectify that just weren't being properly done, and we've already taken care of some of those that are going. But this is how we are currently set up, what this chart shows. Right now, all we have is 1 patrol lieutenant and 5 patrol sergeants underneath there, with all the patrol officers underneath. That 1 patrol lieutenant has the 27 patrol officers, and we run 24/7 with all those shifts. So they cannot provide leadership and management of the entire police department. And with that line right there with the sergeants and only having 5, that's why there isn't enough supervision out there. If you swing over to the administrative side of it, we have 3 different groups that are reporting all the way up to the assistant chief because we don't have a lieutenant there. On top of that, as I looked at the structure, our civilian staff that all are interconnected were reporting to 3 different supervisors, which doesn't make us run efficiently because they're not being supervised by the same person. When you look in the middle, that's our investigations bureau. That is a good chain of command through there, but you just saw all the numbers, the 708 cases, completely maxed out, unable to be proactive because of all those investigations and evidence that they are dealing with. So my overall findings were we did not have an adequate command staff. The police department grew so fast is what I was able to tell, that the command staff and the structure didn't grow with it. So we don't have the leadership that makes us run efficiently, to provide that supervision, and to adequately manage our programs. Also that inefficient structure when it comes to the civilian staff that can make us run better, and then our overall insufficient management of our department programs is what I found as a whole. So where do we need to go to make this? Here's the new structure that I am setting up to show how we can catch up to where we need to be in the police department, get us to where we need to be now, but also set us up for a structure for as we move forward. If the city continues to grow, all those things, calls of service, investigations are going to continue to grow, and we need the structure to support it. So if you start with patrol, what we create are a 2nd patrol lieutenant. So we have 2 patrol lieutenants covering both the day and night shifts. So there's adequate leadership and supervision there. We add the 6 patrol sergeants that we're already in the process of. And then we have senior patrol officers and patrol officers for it. On top of that, I'd found a number of programs were being managed by the patrol division that should have been managed by the administrative division. So we've moved all those off patrol's plate. So now patrol can be patrol and be out there on the streets with the sergeants providing supervision, leading their teams, and doing what the city needs for us when we're responding to calls. So this entails an extra patrol lieutenant and that extra sergeant. If we swing over to the other side, we'll look at the new administrative team. So we had the civilian staff that was spread out between 3 different supervisors. Now we'll have an office supervisor, and all civilian staff will be under them, with our police support specialists, transcriptions, record specialists, all on that one side. On the other side, reporting to this new administrative lieutenant is our training sergeant. So now stuff that was being managed by patrol that shouldn't have been, so building management, fleet management, all of our training, all of those programs are going to go under this wing, along with our support services specialists, our CSO, all of those. So now equipment, cars, building, all are being under 2 people so that nothing is mismanaged moving forward, so that they are able to do audits, keep everything all one. So this needs a 2nd lieutenant to be added just to fill this position. If you look at the investigation side, so everything was maxed out under Sergeant Cruff. with the number of cases and personnel. We're going to create a new investigation sergeant, and this is going to be heavily focused on our narcotics issues. So all of our task force officers that have anything to do with street drugs will be under that sergeant. Our SROs, they used to be under the admin staff. They'll be working with the detectives as they find things in schools, whether it's narcotics or other items that would always be investigated through detectives. Now they're all together. Our crime-free housing will move under this sergeant. So as they work with apartment complexes that have narcotics issues and other issues, she now will be with those detectives every day so that they can work together as a team. The last thing we're going to add is a cultural liaison officer. We are not doing enough with our new Americans population here in West Fargo from the police department standpoint. This is a position that most police departments have to build those relationships with our other populations and our new Americans and the immigrant populations so that we can work together, build trust together. This person will also be part of that side of the house. So when we talk about from an overall structure, this fixes everything. And in addition, it moves Chris Davidson's office supervisor spot up to a business management and administrative assistant to help us run budgets, do the travel, training, all of those different things. So this makes it very clear-cut, 3 different items. We have our patrol that flows nice. We have our investigations team that flows nice, and our administrative team. So now we have efficient and effective leadership, and we're able to supervise, run all of our programs, and we're able to grow and provide all those services to the community that they need as they continue to call in 28,000 times this year, and our other rates go up. So what I'm coming with tonight is, as we look at the numbers, in addition to this, we're about 4 officers short for patrol officers in addition to this. You know, there's no science to tell how many officers, sworn officers, there should be in a police department. You have to analyze everything, but the Bureau of Justice Statistics puts out what they recommend for officers. And for a city our size, it's 1.8 per 1,000 residents. That would put us at 63 sworn officers if we followed that for the PD. We're currently at 54. So to accomplish this and to accomplish what we need from a patrol to respond to those calls and be proactive, we would need 9 new positions to backfill the promotions and to put 4 more officers, patrol officers, on the street. What I'm coming for is asking tonight for the funding to pay for 7 new patrol officers. 5 will be to backfill the promotions that will take place to build this structure, because without this structure, we can keep hiring young new officers, but if we don't have the supervision and leadership and structure, we're failing because we're not going to be able to train them to where we need to be. So we fix the structure, we promote those 5, and out of the additional 4 we need, I would just ask for 2 so that we can at least get us back to where we need to be as this city continues to grow and those calls for service come up. The total for the promotions and to hire those 7 new officers would be $500,164. While I asked for that, we just found out today we'd put in for the Department of Justice COPS grants. Our max that we could ask for was for them to pay for 3 new officers moving forward. We just found out this morning, the timing was perfect, that they are funding all 3 of those officers. So they will provide us $125,000 for the next 3 years to pay for those officers, which pays for roughly 60% of the salary and the health benefits, the total package for that. So when we subtract $125,000 for the $500,000 request, that leaves us with about $375,164 to add those 7 officers to get this to where we need to be to move forward, to do what this city needs us to do when 911 is called so that we can respond. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions as a chief?
Chief, how about as far as equipping these officers and stuff, is there going to be additional cost for that?
So that is built into this, and I should admit, or should say also, so when I have that $500,000 overall number, that $11,000 per officer is the equipment to get them up to speed between vests, guns, all those. So those aren't a recurring cost. So $77,000 of that total is the one-time hit to get them equipped to go. It wouldn't be recurring every year. But that number is factored in there.
I guess this is more for Tina. What is the budget now of the PD? What did we give them this year for a budget? Well, I know we left it open to give them more at this point, but in other words, my point is it's not 500,000, it's probably 1 point some million, correct? Total budget, that's what I wanna know.
Higher than that?
We're right.
Let me look here.
Well, we budgeted, the other money's already in the budget, right? This would just be more, so.
In addition, what we did is, when you guys.
Right, yeah.
Look at the budget, we stripped out any additional staff. So their budget currently is at.
This would push it up to about over $7 million, so. Okay.
Chief, excuse me, I'm sorry, Rich.
Go ahead.
Clean up, since we've already approved the budget, then how do we do that? If we do this, how do we make that work?
You would just, at this point for this year, if you wanted to allow them to start making the changes now, you would agree to amend the budget, allow for the salary for 2017, and then in January, you would amend the budget for 2018.
Okay.
And my suggestion would be to use your general fund reserves to cover 17 and 18. Just because we kind of knew that that's where we were gonna have to take it from.
I don't think we wanna amend the budget, is what you're saying, right? We don't wanna amend the budget, right? We just wanna take this extra out of the general funding, out of our general funds?
We'd still have
We would
to,
still, yeah, we still have to amend the budget, though?
Yeah, we'll do that we'll formally amend, you approve this tonight, we'll amend it for 17, and then in January, we'll come back, we'll just have it on consent to amend to allow.
So it doesn't change mill levies, in other words, then?
It will
Okay.
not be millage.
Chief, I want to commend you for the work. This makes logical sense to me, but on the other hand, I know nothing about running a police department, but on paper it looks good, and I think, you know, we can at times look back, but I think you've chosen, and the rest of the department has chosen to start looking forward, and I think that's a good thing. One comment I have is the cultural liaison officer. I think there's opportunities for not just the police department, but us, the city hall people, to somehow come up and work together on a project like that. And as you move forward with that, I think we should work with Tina or somebody to kind of brainstorm what the two of us can work together on. I think that would be good. I think you're absolutely right. We've probably is long overdue for that position, and so as long as we have that opportunity, let's work on it together.
Absolutely.
Any other questions of the chief?
Just one question, and I'm sure I know the answer, but metro-wide, the crime statistics you're giving here, that's not just West Fargo, that's metro-wide because of the growth, is it not? I mean, increase in narcotic arrests and other activity. I guess what I'm saying is I don't want people to get the idea that West Fargo is getting flooded with extra crime and the other areas aren't. I'm sure the whole metro area is experiencing similar
That would be correct.
challenges.
These are specific to West Fargo, but it would be similar throughout the metro area.
And we know crime doesn't have borders, so.
That's why we have our task force officers and why we work so closely with both West Fargo PD, the Sheriff's Office, and Moorhead. Because we have to have these task force officers and others working together, because otherwise we're not solving the problem, we're just pushing it to another city. So we need to all work together to take them off the street.
Thank you.
We just returned from the National League of Cities Convention. You talk to other commissioners and mayors, and it's a countrywide, in a lot of places, some of the East Coast areas are especially hard hit when you talk to some of their people, and through the Rust Belt too is really bad. Any other questions of the chief? If not, do I hear a motion for seven new patrol officers?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief. Keep up the good work.
Well done.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners.
Item 3, Cass County Planning Commission Board appointment. And Commissioner Wentz has been our person in the past. And I would respectfully request that you keep doing it.
I will do it.
Okay, do it. Wonderful job he is doing. Do I hear a motion for that, to that effect, real quick? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Commissioner Wentz. Item 4, Riverview Estates, second subdivision, final plat approval and approval of conditional use permit, subject to the conditions.
Mr. Mayor, we received this application to, kind of as a solution to a property owner wanting to construct an accessory building on a lot he owned adjacent to his property. The properties are in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, so as you probably are familiar, the city has zoning jurisdiction there, but not taxing authority. This property is along the Cheyenne River. We have an overlay district along the Cheyenne River that has a 100-foot setback. Along with residential setbacks, the existing lot that this gentleman owned adjacent to his was essentially unbuildable. The solution he came up with was to combine the lots in a plat, and this would allow for him to create one lot where he could have his accessory structure, and thereby allowing for this accessory structure to be that conditional use permit that we allow in the rural estate district. In regards to criteria for granting a conditional use permit, staff is most concerned with the stability of the soil within the area. We believe, however, that the Cheyenne River setback would provide for enough coverage on that. Concern was raised from adjacent property owner that the road leading to the home was also unstable. The amount of construction activity for a small accessory structure is not a concern. However, we did provide that information to the property owner. It's interesting, the drive is a private drive, so they take care of it. So any damage that they do to it, it's their own problem. So he's aware of that. He's lived there for a long time, and will take care of that. We believe the application is providing a positive solution to an otherwise problem lot that we're getting a lot of calls on what to do with a lot like this, and it's going to combine that with this other lot. So staff is recommending approval of the application at their July 10th, 2017 meeting. The Planning Commission also held a public hearing and is recommending their approval as well, with the conditions noted in the staff report. We've received all the appropriate materials for the plat, and a conditional use permit, which was attached to your packet, would be recorded against the property for the accessory building. So the applicant is available. I'm available for any questions as well.
Any questions of Tim? If not, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the recommendations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, review the project concept alternate for Street Improvement District number 2249 and provide direction on which alternate to pursue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission. Ask Chris to join me here too, and bear with me as I switch out technology. Hopefully I don't screw something up.
Well, as he's switching out technology, I'll just kind of introduce him a little bit. As we were starting to, we realized that we met warrant split signal lights up at 7th Avenue, Cheyenne Street. As we started doing preliminary engineering and developing that area, we started to notice how Cheyenne Street is starting to change into more of a downtown area. That's something, type of feel that we want to get in that area. So we started brainstorming some different alternatives that we could bring forward to see if there's something you want to continue to review and move forward with. One of them was a roundabout for this location. You see the general area, no original plan, it was a traffic signal. We could put a roundabout in this location. It's tight. As you take a look at this, this is a eagle's eye view of it. We moved the roundabout. It's not centered in the intersection. We moved it to the south and to the east, realizing there's a quest to building to the northeast and the senior housing to the southwest. And those are areas that we could probably take a little more land from to move this over in these areas. I think to the west, so it has very little impact to the super pumper site there, and the church parking lot will lose a couple different spots. We have a rendering that more engineering produced right here, even has a clock tower in the middle. And, I think you see that it works quite nicely in that area. Some of the benefits that I haven't even seen this.
This is just hot off the press, just finished that up, 4 o'clock today, so no, Chris hasn't seen it. Again, it just provides a street view of what this could look like and function like. Clock tower is sitting in there now, that again is just an option, just shows you that there's some opportunities to add some aesthetics to that roundabout. There's other monuments you can put in there. You can get, landscaping, so on and so forth. But again, just wanted to point out there's an opportunity to add some aesthetics to this intersection.
I think it'd make a nice gateway to the downtown area. Traffic-wise, it probably wouldn't function very well as a truck route. It's currently a truck route. I know there's been some desire to take that off our city truck routes. I agree with that. I don't think there's a lot of need to have a cement mixer coming by if you want to have a outdoor cafe. These two uses really don't work well together. Traffic operation-wise, I think generally roundabouts have a better level of service until they become over capacity, then they fail quite quickly. So I think in this area, you may see fewer people using it as a commuter route, and they might say take other routes, but it will still operate quite nicely at a high level of service.
How would like a gas truck get to Casey's?
Well, certainly. Want to come back here, Dustin? As you see on these roundabouts, one of the renderings would be just fine. You see different colors, so maybe you can't.
Yeah, you're right.
There's 2 inscribed circles. There's the inside inscribed circle. That's where all the median and all the plantings and the clock towers at. Then you see that gray around the outside. That's called a truck apron. What we're showing here is probably the smaller of the one. We'd like to have a little bit larger roundabout in this area, but this is our first swag at it, trying to minimize the impacts on the neighboring properties. A gas truck can get through here. I don't know what size design vehicle you used. Probably like a WB60, which is wheelbase 60 is the distance between the steer axle and the rear drive axle on there, 60 feet, which is normal semi.
I think though, Chris, if we shut this down for truck traffic, the fuel trucks wouldn't come that way anyway, because they come from the north. Then they just go back to north. They wouldn't get this far south.
According to our city ordinance, if you're off the truck route, you have to take the shortest route to your destination.
But it would be north,
So
because
if
that's
you
where
come down from Main Avenue.
Yeah, Cheyenne, and then it'd turn around and go back. It wouldn't even go south.
So, but, to answer your question, I think your question is this large enough for a truck to traverse?
Or a snowplow.
Or a snowplow? I already checked with our snowplow guys. I certainly already did that. That's question number 1 whenever I get these.
The design vehicle we used was a WB53, which is a standard semi-trailer. It will have to go over the apron, and it's really tight. If we can, we'd like to get an extra 5 feet of radius here. So to do that, you can kind of see where we've impacted the adjacent properties. We've already kind of come into this CenturyLink Buildings site pretty close. So if we are going to pursue a little larger radius, we would probably propose to shift it a little further southeast into the high-rise property. There is still quite a bit of room in here, but those are some of the things that we would continue to investigate if we decide to move forward.
A larger roundabout would make it operate a little bit better for the side streets, so there's more opportunities as people traversing it that they can actually get another car in. They're not so worried about that car coming on being so close. You don't have that decision time. So a larger roundabout, there's more decision time. So it's easier for people to get on and navigate it. But what we're really asking you here for tonight is, say, is this option you want us to move forward with to discover, start talking to the landowners in the area and discuss about possibilities of getting some of this land out there.
Let's just back up one moment, though, okay? First, I love the idea of a roundabout, but I get very concerned with the traffic and the roundabout not being big enough. That 4-way intersection is huge with traffic every morning, every night. I mean, they're backed up. I'm afraid if we go too small, that's going to be a cluster. And I notice you only have 1 lane. There's not a 2 lane, so somebody can't come, go all the way around and stay in the inner lane. and come out. So I think the first thing you need to do is go there and do a traffic count. And then look at the statistics, whatever they say, how many cars, how big does maybe you know this, how big does a roundabout have to be for how many cars?
There's software that does that. This highway capacity manual has roundabout software that we can analyze.
'Cause I don't wanna see another Charleswood one. That's ridiculous. I don't, quite honestly, I'm glad we're redoing the intersection, which you just found out about today, you know, the interchange. 'Cause that's the goofiest thing I've ever seen. You come off that interchange, and you got that big truck driver pad there. Nobody, you know, everybody takes that shortcut across. I don't like the looks of that at all myself. But my point is, I'd like to see if we could do a big roundabout that would just, you know, where the cars are gonna be comfortable going in and out of there. 'Cause right now, the smaller one looks like to me that we're gonna have a cluster of cars.
It's tighter, it most definitely is, and like I said, we went a little bit smaller, say that we can fit one in there, but we'll feel much more comfortable with a larger one.
The one you're looking at now, compare that around, where's there one around town that we can drive and actually get the same feeling? Is there this size?
This size is gonna be, more comparable to what you would see on Veterans Boulevard down in Fargo.
Okay, way down south?
Yep.
Those three or
One thing
four
we
they
would do
got?
a little differently is the truck apron would be peeled back a little bit so that there is more of an opportunity to allow a truck to drive over it. But those are about the size. In fact, this is still a tish smaller than those.
I'd also like to caution you, if you go down there, the way that the angles that the roads come into it is not truly what a roundabout needs to be. It doesn't bring them, it's a hard turn to get around it, so.
Yeah.
It's the size, the round circle is near that size, but it's not how.
They don't call them roundabouts down there either, do they?
They do.
Do they call them a roundabout?
More of a traffic circle than anything else.
Yeah. The recent ones we put in, you know, in the Preserve, in Shadowwood, and in Brooks Harbor are a little bigger than this. So that is something to be aware of.
Right.
You don't want, can you imagine that?
Seems really small.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of traffic there, guys.
One thing to be, maybe I'll reiterate the question. At this point, it's not to drop off the signal. The question is, should we continue pursuing this further? Do we want to, because if the concern or demand is, look, let's just put in the standard signalized intersection and not waste any more time and effort pursuing a roundabout, then we'll hit the timeout and go back to a signal. Or do we pursue this and see how big can we get it, look at traffic operations, do more of a cost analysis, you know, all that.
I think you should pursue it myself.
Okay.
Pursue it in the right way. That's what I'm kind of saying, like in reference to, and I'll be pretty public about this. I think we should shut down Cheyenne Street to truck traffic. It's time. We're doing a lot of money, a lot of investment down there. It's time to make it more walkability. Say the word. Walkability.
Walkability.
Or safer, yeah. And it's just, the time is to do it is now while we're doing this stuff. This is the time.
Which leads me to my question too. You know, those roundabouts, traffic comes in and goes around there pretty fast. How does that fit in with the traffic walking back and across the
pedestrians? If you want to go back here, Dustin. One thing that they've actually, studies have shown, it might seem a little counterintuitive. If you take a look at the crossing locations, there's a median in the middle. So when people are when there's pedestrians out there crossing this, they only have one direction of traffic they have to try to identify and see that gap until they get to the spot, and they only have to look again at another direction of traffic. So they said a lot of times statistics make this a little bit safer than a normal intersection.
Really?
So when they walk, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying now, okay.
Now, if I go back to this video, I don't know if anyone caught it, but there is a moment there where you're looking at a pedestrian crossing the road, and it appears that the van is going to hit him. Now, someone created a computer graphic here. So this gentleman that's about to cross the street, if you pay attention to the van that's coming.
Boom.
But the intent is that van wouldn't be going that fast.
10 points?
But
so that van would have to stop then if you go in.
Would be yielding. Yeah. And that is the one direction of flow of traffic. So that person now has a refuge at that median. So he's looking, there's a van coming. Either he wouldn't have started moving into the intersection, or the van is slowing down and stopping for him, or the van just keeps turning around the roundabout, like in this case, and just scared everybody half to death.
Yeah. If you want, I would make that motion recommendation that you move forward with this and look at it.
Even from a construction standpoint, might be a little cheaper than what a signal light would be. But we're not counting any type of land acquisition.
I think it looks good, but I agree with what Commissioner Simmons is saying, try to get as large as we can.
It's gotta be bigger. There's a lot of traffic.
Yep, we will look into that.
Oh, that looks really nice in concept.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect place. It's kind of that wow factor, and then you hit downtown. It's perfect for what we're doing, so.
You can see here off to the, in the background is an actual rendering of the new building, the Cheyenne Plaza back there, so, yeah.
Can you show a video of that with some trucks in that flow too, like that's kind of cool the way you have it.
Yeah.
Might give me an idea what trucks it.
I think again, Frank, on that, or at least my position is it's time to shut that route down, and we can do it. I've talked to some of these companies. It isn't that much quicker to go out to the interstate. In fact, I actually heard already that some of the people are coming and they're taking that road we talked about, the gravel road, Tina, by you? The remnant exchange already. Some of the truckers are going down. Actually, I got a request to see if we could go out there and gravel that road or do something with it.
Okay.
You know, to fix it up a little bit.
Work with the county or the township, on those two.
But I mean, that's a good thing that they're using it, so they're already kind of adapting to it. I think they know, you know, they see the light and.
Have to make sure like city bus and school buses get through there.
Right, they are the ones that got to be able to get around it.
Walk away and stuff, so as long as they can navigate it.
Don't worry about the snowplow.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, review the RFP for a core area infrastructure master plan. To authorize staff to publish RFP and interview consultants.
Well, Mayor and Commissioners, what's in front of you this evening is, I think Dustin and I came and talked to each of you this last spring, talking about our core area town, which is basically from Main Avenue, 13th, 9th Street, and we're taking all the way over to Drain 21, even though it's, we're not so worried about most of the stuff on the west side of town. But there's a lot of old infrastructure in areas, some clay tile, sanitary sewer. We started to tackle some of that here on First Avenue. We're seeing a lot of those clay tiles starting to fail, and we want to know exactly how big of an area this is and try to figure out a systematic area of how to approach this reconstruction. So part of the study would be looking at, not over the water and the sewer, but taking a look at the water model and to see if we need to upsize any of our water distribution pipes in these areas. We're going to take a look at some stormwater modeling in the areas for downtown. As we're doing all this redevelopment, we don't have any stormwater retention in these areas. So we have to start looking to see if there's ways we can assemble some properties and figure out how to redo all this reconstruction. And how do we prioritize having the bad pipes? We take a look at the condition of the roadways and see which candidate products come first. So, I mean, the final product out of all of this is to get a community investment plan projects prioritized in the core area and start listing out which years we should try to tackle these projects and move forward. We also want to take a look at how to finance these projects, because a lot of the core area of town, some of these areas are more inexpensive areas to live in, and I have some concerns about some of the prices, some of these specials that might come on top of these homes. So my big plan is publish the RFP, select some finalists to engineering companies to review this and interview, and have a selection to come back to you in January with a price. Available for any questions.
How much do you think the study is going to cost?
I would probably say $300,000 to $400,000.
Say that again.
The
You're not
original,
asking for that, I hope now, are you?
Yeah, no, the original estimate, when we first had it, we had a large amount of public participation in some items that we already collected ourselves, and that estimate was about $500,000. So we chopped down the scope quite a bit. I think this type of study, there's a lot of engineering firms out there which would probably be very interested in doing this type of work. And one of the evaluation criteria for the selection of the preferred consultant is cost. So we'll know what everyone's cost is going into it, and we'll get a real good feel of what that number is going to be.
Did you get some grant money like the PD chief or anything like that coming this way?
Well, you know, there's a couple different philosophies of how we can go about this. And I mean, the other way is we take the area that we know where the clay tile is, we grid it off, and we just start doing projects. And I don't know if we're going to hit the worst infrastructure first or last, and what priority do we need to do these things? Can some of the infrastructure wait 10 years while we get the worst first? Is how you prioritize that and get these grouped together and make sure when we do project that we actually get the right size pipes in there, we reconstruct what needs to get done now, and just plan for the entire area.
I thought, Chris, we went over this. I thought we were going to do some of this ourselves, just from history, and
we did take a lot of that out. I mean, so now it's really just the analyzing the pipes, the size. I mean, we're looking at a calibrated water model, calibrated storm sewer models for project limits. That includes all the downtown retention.
You took all that out, but you didn't take much of the money out of the process here.
We probably took close to
$400,000 when we first started with this?
It was about 500.
Man.
So it's a guess right now. It truly is it's a swag.
It doesn't.
And until we actually put it out there and see, we're not going to know what this cost is going to be.
Doesn't cost us anything to find out, right? Is that
cost us nothing to find out.
Okay.
Any questions of Chris?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Carried. Next, we have Tina.
Good evening again, Mayor and Commissioners. I won't take too much of your time up. I'll just give you a couple bullet points on some of the stuff that's been going on. For those of you that were down in North Carolina, we attended the League of Cities in North Carolina last week, got back on Sunday. North Carolina's not Nashville, but we had a really good time. I actually picked up a lot of information on issues that I'm going to be meeting with Dan and Heath and other staff on, pulling our GIS person on using Esri and our ArcGIS to track down opioid issues and other police issues, fire issues, different things like that, and how to make it, bring all the data in and push it out and make it more forward-facing for the public and be able to use it to analyze and make better decisions. We have a lot of that software, well, we have that software already on in-house, and so in talking with the people at Esri, it really wouldn't take a lot it just takes time and getting the right data. So it's more sitting down with these guys and saying, what do you want to know, what do you need, let's get it, because they said we can download apps and create our dashboards and start creating tools that would be useful for them while they're making their decisions they need to make. Along with that, we looked at clocks, looked at different kinds of waste disposal systems, and quite a few other things. It was very interesting. Attended quite a few workshops on leadership, and again, there was a lot on ethnicity and on opioid and drug addiction. So, along with that, we have started working on a revision, or a review and revision of our alcohol ordinance. We had Heath and it was Heath and the Assistant Chief and myself and John met to have an initial discussion on some of the oddities that are coming up right now with some of these different places that want to have partial liquor licenses. They're only, using our special event permits, and they're kind of getting overused. And so we're kind of going through that, and as we get through that process, we'll keep you guys informed and make sure that you're aware of what's going on with our thoughts on the ordinance before we bring anything for some kind of revision. We're continuing to work on the CIP. Chris and Dustin have quite a bit of it done and ready. We're to the point now where we're going to start calculating how to finance projects for the 5-year term and on out. That means calculating, estimating things like special assessments, sales tax use, what's water rate, what's sewer rate, all that kind of stuff, so that we can match cash flow balances and make sure that we're not running anything into the hole, and kind of get a feel for what would be coming up for the next while and special assessments for different areas. So that will be really exciting as we get moving on that. On the 30th, we are going to be holding a utility meeting. There will be all the dry utilities that we have in our database that we use for one call. Will be invited in to bring their CIPs, and we'll have our CIP for 2018 in there with a map and show them where we're doing our work, so they can look and see how it might affect them and affect the jobs that they might want to do. So we'll be coordinating with them, and then our intention is to hold that again every August going forward. Chris had a meeting today with his staff to discuss the structure of public works and how all that is flowing, and so with that, we're just kind of working on keeping things moving. In the winter time, now is going to be our good time to work on our goals and achievements and all those different kinds of things. So if there's anything that you want us to consider, work on, address, let me know. We're working on the engineering transformation and the restructure of City Hall and Public Works. Those are our biggest tasks right now, setting some goals. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Chief, I forgot to mention, I'll send you some URLs for the, there was a drug task force put together with cities across the country. It was led by the mayor of Nashville. She lost her son to an overdose, so I'll get you that information as soon as you can. Any other non-agenda items? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.